Ahora
Um,
voy a presentar
so now I'm going to present to you, the first place, the facilitator of this session, who will be with us during the first part of the day. And then the four sisters who will be the panelists of today. They will be presenting to us the work that they have prepared. I want to begin by presenting Patricia Morgante, who is here. Among all the people on the screen, you may not see her, but we'll show you. She is a layperson, very committed. She is a digital communicator, and she works in the UISG, which is the Union of International Superiors in Rome. And she is also a facilitator for international meetings. She forms part of a team, Mission and Integral Ecology, which is an open space for all people, very specially committed to all the frontiers where they fight for justice and peace. She also forms a part of a circle of women who are connected together, and they share their sentiments of compassion for women in the church and society. I also want to present this great woman whom we consider our friend and who has also accompanied us in our Vedruna communication. Thank you, Patricia.
Vamos a presentar también a las
We
cuatro.
also want to present the four sisters who will be in the panel. The first is Marguerite Mbao, who is a sister from the Dominican Republic of Congo. She has done her MA in literature. She was in 1 year in the formation house in Bolivia to have an experience of the sisters. She is right now the formator of the province of Africa, and she is many years lived in the formation community. Marisol Sanchez is a sister from Santo Domingo. She is also done her MA in psychology. She has a lot of sensitivity towards women, protection of the minors, and a lot of enthusiasm in accompanying the youth. She is presently the delegate of the Republican Dominic of Cuba.
Reka
Mahida. She's from India, of Gujarat. Is a sister who has done her MSW. She has done her LLB and has been a missionary in Eritrea. She has a special vocation in empowering women through her integral formation and development of economic development of the women. She, along with many sisters, she accompanies several women in the villages. She is presently a part of the provincial team of India. Luica Villalego is a sister of the province of Europe in Spain, Cadiz. She also has done her social work, and she has got her degree in psychology. And she has been a formator for many, many years. And she was living in the formation community of Madrid. She is right now accompanying, and she is a part of the RUA team. She lives in Valladolid, and she also is in the team of the provincial team of Europe. So with all this now, I hand over the mic to Patricia, our facilitator for today. Thank you very much, Patricia. for being with us and for accompanying us in all this process of preparation of the EGC and in many other things that we have constantly been asking you. So we really need to thank you very, very much because she has really closely accompanied us. So over to you, Patricia. I want to thank you, Ines, because I feel at home here.
Bueno, así mejor. Bueno, decía que soy yo que les agradezco como familia carismática porque de verdad me siento en casa.
I feel very much at home with all of you. I see your congregation that really has your doors open, and I feel that today's topic really touches all of us, and all of us make us feel responsible as lay and religious women. You have already been talking about this topic yesterday with Sister Philo. So today we are going to listen to 4 sisters, and we don't want to spend time, don't want to lose time, because we want to begin to listen to these 4 sisters. And so we begin with Africa. I will ask Sister Marguerite to begin to speak. She is going to talk in French, and there will be translation. Each of them will be given 15 minutes to share their reflection. I will, 2 minutes before your time gets over, I will give you a reminder that you have just 2 minutes left so that you can begin to summarize your talk and end it. It's very important for us to be on time and finish on time so that we have a little time for a little bit of dialogue among ourselves. We can see many people connected because it is an open meeting, and there are many other religious besides Vedruna and lay people attending. So we leave a little time and space for sharing. So Marguerite will talk now for 15 minutes. We enter into a movement of women, each one from their own reality, church reality of their continents.
Bueno, me dicen que Marguerite va a tener un video, entonces sí.
Être femme Vedruna dans l'Église. Nous parlons de la responsabilité de la femme dans la société africaine et dans l'Église africaine en nous inspirant du cas concret de la République démocratique du Congo que nous connaissons mieux. Femmes et hommes dans la famille. Sans nous attarder sur une description purement sociologique de la place de la femme, il nous faut rappeler son destin dans la société africaine. La femme est celle qui fait la vie. La fonction de la maternité est celle qui est
function of the maternity.
Aucune tentative de dévalorisation n'est encore menée jusqu'à présent. Dans la famille, les parents ont
Family, the parent.
Dès l'enfance, le rôle de la mère est essentiel. Elle s'occupe de l'enfant au moment de la naissance. Première éducatrice, elle marque de son empreinte les processus de développement de la personnalité de l'enfant. L'homme, lui, est considéré comme père et chef de la famille.
The men are considered that she is the mother, father, and the leader of the family.
Il a le droit au respect et à la
she had a,
considération de sa femme et de ses enfants.
he had a right to consider his farm and his children. Oh my gosh, she's very fast.
Éducatrice et épouse et
She's
gardienne
a,
de certains aspects de la tradition, la femme a également droit au respect et à la
the woman
considération de
has
son
a
mari et de ses enfants.
right and the respect.
Certains révèlent que la femme mariée a une influence considérable sur les décisions importantes de son mari. Il s'agit en fait d'un pouvoir silencieux, plus illusoire que réel, car elle s'exerce dans l'espace privé de la famille. Le défi majeur qui reste à relever est celui de définir de façon nouvelle la place et leur prise de décision dans un partenariat homme-femme dans l'Église en vue de la justice. La femme dans l'économie. Les tâches
The
de la
woman in
femme
the economy,
et de l'homme se
the stage
rapportent
of
au
a
rôle
woman
différent qu'ils
in the, oh
jouent
my God,
dans la subsistance de la famille. L'Africaine contribue beaucoup plus à l'économie dans la production alimentaire, agricole et dans bien d'autres domaines qu'on l'admet généralement. Pourvoyeuses de nourriture dans leur ménage, les femmes assurent les mêmes services dans les lieux de passage et de concentration de la population. Ces femmes qui remplissent les églises.
the
Comment les
women
femmes si
who are
nombreuses dans les
always in the
communautés
church,
chrétiennes peuvent-elles se
how to
former et
form
donner sens
the
à notre
marriage.
engagement dans l'Église? En Afrique comme ailleurs, les femmes sont les plus nombreuses dans les églises.
The
Très
women are
engagées et
more in
souvent
the
bien
church, not
organisées.
only in Africa but
Elles rendent
everywhere.
de nombreux services, pourtant même avec cette présence, elles sont
They
absentes
give a
dans des
big
lieux de
service with their
hommes et
presence.
femmes dans l'Église. La Bible nous enseigne que l'homme a été
The
créé à
Bible
l'image de Dieu.
tells us
Dès l'origine, il les créa hommes et femmes. Genèse 1, 25.
God
Cette
created
société de
man
l'homme et
and
de la
woman.
femme est l'expression première de la communion des personnes. Dans notre Église catholique, qui agit en assemblée synode,
I cannot.
qui enseigne prophétique et qui agit par charité, nous pouvons être encore étonnés qu'il se pose cet éternel problème de reconnaissance de l'égalité homme-femme. Dans l'Église catholique d'Afrique, notamment en République du Congo,
Catholic
la
Church in
collaboration de
Africa,
la femme
the
religieuse,
collaboration of the women
avec l'homme
religious
prêtre, laïque,
with the
religieux,
men,
se situe
with
dans les
the
limites
lay
des
people.
fonctions classiques. Les femmes s'adonnent à la catéchèse, enseignement,
The women
animation
give
liturgique,
the catechism.
l'engagement des jeunes. Elles
They are
s'occupent par
engaged with
ailleurs
the youth.
des œuvres sociales et caritatives.
They are
Tandis que
also
les postes
with the social life.
qui confèrent un pouvoir effectif dans les mouvements, dans le gouvernement de l'Église,
A power
reviennent
effective in
exclusivement
the
aux hommes,
government of the church.
spécialement aux ecclésiastiques. Il n'est pas exagéré d'affirmer que l'Église d'Afrique, comme d'ailleurs, est marxiste
The
et
church in the Africa, like the other
à l'heure
churches,
actuelle, dans le renouveau pastoral, pour une
the
évangélisation
new
en profondeur
pastoral
initiée
in
dans
one
le diocèse du
evangelization
Congo dans les années 70 par le
initiated
cardinal
in
Joseph
the
Albert Malula.
Congo.
Les laïcs, hommes et femmes, jouent un rôle important dans les paroisses et les communautés
The
ecclésiales
like
vivantes,
women,
CVB. Ces
they
communautés
play a
ecclésiales
great
vivantes
role
de
in the
base
church.
sont très dynamiques dans les quartiers. Les membres de
They are
ces
very
CVB sont
dynamic.
majoritairement des femmes, c'est-à-dire qu'à la base ou dans l'église d'en bas, les femmes sont majoritaires, donc piliers de
The
l'église.
women
Une présence indéniable des femmes aujourd'hui dans l'église. En Afrique comme ailleurs, les femmes sont de plus en plus nombreuses dans des églises, très engagées et bien souvent organisées. Elles rendent de nombreux services. Pourtant, même avec cette présence, les femmes sont absentes des lieux de décision. Il faut donc se réjouir du chemin parcouru ces décennies et que le pape reconnaît dans son motu proprio. Dans le concret de la vie et du fonctionnement de l'Église en République démocratique du Congo, les femmes constituent l'écrasante majorité des laïcs qui, au titre de leur baptême et en vertu de leur charisme, portent au quotidien le témoignage et le rayonnement de l'Évangile. Femmes bénévoles ou rémunérées, collaboratrices pastorales, catéchèses, animations liturgiques, encadrement des jeunes, œuvres sociales et caritatives. Sans les femmes engagées, le rayonnement de l'Évangile en République démocratique du Congo serait terriblement appauvri. Il faut compter sur elles. Le front de la qualité relationnelle homme-femme. Le combat pour la parité est surtout d'abord un combat de la qualité des relations entre hommes et femmes au quotidien et dans l'engagement de tous et de chacun. 4 points retiennent mon attention et nous pouvons agir. Le respect réciproque de chacun dans ses spécificités, son charisme propre. La prise de conscience de notre vocation commune au sein de l'Église et au service de la mission. La volonté de travailler ensemble. Le désir d'enrichissement mutuel dans notre humanité et dans notre vie chrétienne. Le front de la formation, des apprentissages des femmes au fonctionnement des institutions de l'Église. Les combats pour la parité, surtout dans la formation, et à poursuivre aussi dans 4 domaines. Prise de parole des femmes dans la vie, dans le fonctionnement des communautés ou du diocèse. Leur implication dans les instances de concertation au sein de la communauté et du diocèse. Exemple, le conseil pastoral. Implication des femmes dans les organisations de décision. Participation au pouvoir de juridiction proprement dite comme délégué épiscopal, juge ecclésiastique. Reconnaissance des statuts des femmes rémunérées au service de l'Église. Le front des représentations ou des préjugés faits aux femmes sur les plans du travail dans la vie et le fonctionnement des communautés, et plus particulièrement dans les chefs des pasteurs. C'est sur cette base que se joue tout l'imaginaire ecclésial autour de la femme. Le discours tenu par certains responsables pastoraux et les magistères, ainsi que celui qui est tenu par les fidèles sur le terrain très concret et quotidien de la vie ecclésiale, montre que la femme est toujours vue comme un être redouté, disqualifié et réputé dangereuse. Les Vedruna dans l'Église. Aujourd'hui, en tant que femme religieuse dans l'Église, plus encore carmélite de la charité, nous participons de différentes manières là où nous sommes présentes. Au Gabon, nous brisons le silence en défendant la cause des enfants victimes de traite, de violences de tout genre, les mineurs en conflit avec la loi à la prison centrale de Libreville et de Franceville. Nous dénonçons les antivaleurs par la sensibilisation dans les écoles, les rues et les marchés. En RDC, nous travaillons en collaboration avec l'Église dans les domaines pastoral, notamment dans l'encadrement des jeunes, la catéchèse, dans les domaines de la santé, dans les domaines de l'éducation. Nos écoles sont conventionnées catholiques. Conclusion. Le regard de Jésus sur la femme confirme son rôle de partenaire dans la mission.
So the women and her role as a paternal and maternal.
L'homme, tout en sauvegardant son originalité féminine. La revendication essentielle est le droit à la différence et à l'égalité dans les fonctions de responsabilité au sein de l'Église.
The function and the
Faudrait-il pas
responsibility.
un changement de mentalité ou mieux une véritable conversion pour redéfinir la relation
Changing the mentality
dans nos communautés? En prenant toute sa place dans l'Église, la femme peut y exercer sa mission
Her
prophétique
place in
dans
the
la
church,
transformation de la
she
famille,
is the
de
one who is
l'Église,
really
de
doing a
l'ensemble de la
prophetic
société.
in the church.
La communauté chrétienne sera le lieu
The community
d'apprentissage et
Christian
d'initiation à une prise de responsabilité effective dans tous les
she takes
domaines de la vie
very
ecclésiale,
effective in
politique,
all the field,
sociale, culturelle.
social,
Armée d'une
cultural.
solide éducation humaine et d'une formation théologique concrète, les femmes chrétiennes peuvent conscientiser d'autres femmes et les aider à sortir de leur situation vécue
The woman can help the other women
consentantes.
in all
Pour
our social
éviter
life.
de bâtir une église et un monde hémiplégique ne fonctionnant qu'à moitié, il convient d'envisager nécessairement une société, une église fondée sur les
We need to have
partenariats
and change our attitude
une
towards women.
société, une
She
église
plays a great
au
role in
masculin
the church as a
et au
woman.
féminin. Je vous remercie.
Muchas gracias, hermana Marguerite. Creo que hay algunos problemas
Thank you
técnicos.
very much, Marguerite. I think there were some technical problems.
Entonces, si podemos abrir todos los
I think that the translator they thought that I was translating, but it is not me who was translating. So thank you very much, Marguerite, for sharing with us how the culture very often affects the woman and the development of the woman in the church as well as in the society.
Pero dentro de un marco de
We
igualdad.
really feel the effect of living this unequal identity of the male and the female gender.
De la sociedad, y lo hacen a partir de una formación humana y teológica fuerte. Muchas gracias para
So
compartir.
thank you very much for sharing the experience from Africa. Now let's journey. We will definitely continue to have problems of the technical problems. We will now move to America. We will ask Marisol to speak and share with us her experience. Josephine will put the video of Marisol. She will share the screen. So I invite Marisol to help us to enter into the problems of women and the reality of women. She also has 15 minutes and 2 minutes before I will remind her that she has to end. So Marisol, I invite you to begin. Caribbean greeting to all the Vedruna sisters from the Dominican Republic. I want to invite all of you to enter into this reflection from our being as women, taking into our hands and praying for our mothers, our friends, our brothers, our neighbors, our companions, and all the women we work with, because this is a topic that affects all of us. So we begin.
Podemos empezar a compartir pantalla. Para hablar de lo que significa ser mujer vedruna en la iglesia.
What does it mean to be a woman in the church?
Desde la vida de las mujeres
From the life of the women, Vedruna women, I've had a long journey on the path of recognition of their rights. This is an issue that affects all of us, and we can deepen from many angles, including the exterior or interior of ourselves. The invitation is to enter into this reflection from the inside of each one of us, getting in contact with ourselves and women, and listening to the life that beats within us in solidarity with our mothers, sisters, friends, neighbors, and everyone.
En algunas familias, cosa que agrava la situación. Los medios de comunicación y las redes sociales siguen
Many
creando
means of communication
de explotar a la mujer, en especial a niñas y adolescentes. Junto a esto, va progresando un empoderamiento de la mujer. Ella va rompiendo los esquemas establecidos y las encontramos incursionando en todas las áreas, incluso en aquellas que eran
1 minute, I'll just translate what you're saying.
crece su capacidad de convocatoria, de resistencia.
Although we are taking steps forward, we continue to live in a discriminatory masculine culture which considers women the object of masculine satisfaction and use. Women are owned by men. She is still seen as second standard and therefore inferior to them. She continues to carry the greatest burden of the home, and it is up to the daughters to imitate them. Her work at home does not gain recognition, much less economic remuneration, less vacations, and less benefits. The media and social networks continue to create new modern ways of exploiting them, turning it into a product of production of eroticism, pornography, or sexual exploitation. In many families, girls and boys receive different treatment and education, favoring always the male and perpetuating discrimination based on sex. For some places or families, the girl in the house is a lottery ticket that can be bought by an adult in exchange for the family's economic well-being. Tourism is also a source of female exploitation. This is worse if you live in a locality of a beach. Along with this, empowerment of women is progressing. It is taking a forefront where she can manifest her ability, her talents, and her gifts. The woman is breaking the schemes established for her, and we find them venturing into all areas, even in those that were considered masculine. Their ability to resist grows. Her contributions have helped other women to become aware of their lives. Women's voices have been raised for years in America and the Caribbean. As a social force, it is one of the strongest and most permanent. Many women's movements have been started in this continent. The woman grows in awareness of her dignity. The women of this continent make themselves visible. They organize protests and demands for their rights. They put their creativity in favor of social causes, demonstrating their solidarity and commitment to the people. Others courageously promote public policies in favor of equality and the protection of women. In some countries, important steps have been made in laws and agreements. Of course, all this together with the daily struggle, the protest, and the claim. We see them raising their voices for the rights or raising a banner for respect for life from conception to death. It makes the government tremble before signing a law, denounces its aggressor, and unmasks the patriarchal double standard. In the economic field, women's success in the field of economics cannot be minimized. The weaker sex continues a strong work machine, both in the formal and informal economies. Some of them are achieving economic independence. They depend less and less on the man for their needs, and in some cases, they exceed the salary of the man. In informal work, we find her more creative every day. In the pandemic, they found a way to act and get the family moving. In the political scenario, women from America and the Caribbean have held public positions. There are countries where they have assumed presidential or vice presidential leadership. We find them in the Senate, in the Chamber of Deputies. They are elected as governors and mayors in the justice system and the public prosecutor's office. The advances are not so remarkable. The church lags behind society. Although women fill the churches, without them, it would be impossible to think of the proclamation of the gospel or the support of the diocese, the parish, the most distant chapels. They are the catechists, community animators, ministers of the Eucharist, part of the pastoral council, leaders of movements, engaged in formation, evangelizing, and missionaries. All of the above and always under the accomplishment of the parish priests or assigned priests. What a paradox. Just where our participation is most noticeable, we do not participate in decision making. We share the pain of the women. We practice fraternity. We break away from sexual harassment. We take care of the balance between personal, family work, and community life. We strengthen the process and struggles in favor of the promotion, appreciation, and active participation of women in the apostolic life of the church. We create spaces for dialogue, for our reality, and the reading of biblical women and other women who are witnesses. Vedruna Women in America and the Caribbean, we strive to build communities in gender equality with alternative relationships to an unequal patriarchal world. It pains us that our beloved church is carried away by power and clericism. By standing next to the cross with Mary and the women who accompany Jesus, we bear the pain of women who are ours, and together with them, we continue to generate life in the midst of death. We practice brotherhood and sisterhood by living in a simple way in the midst of our people as sisters, overcoming rivalries, taking Jesus' commandment to the most vulnerable places, far and near, showing them that we are called, like all creation, to be a sign of communion, generating spaces for participation. Although in various instances,
grupos comunitarios, laicas y laicos valoran nuestro aporte más que el clero. Nos alegra decir que en
we promote in our educational centers an inclusive, comprehensive education that respects diversity and favors equality. In systematic and unsystematic education, the aim is to make children and adolescents aware of the rights of women. Like Vedrunas, we have advanced in our local communities, showing a renewed, inclusive, and dialoguing church.
de la vida consagrada del continente y el Caribe, caminando con las distintas conferencias de religiosas y religiosos de los países, fomentando el trabajo interreligioso, siguiendo las líneas de las conferencias. María nos recuerda que ya es la hora de hacer lo que nos diga Jesús.
Like Vedrunas, we have advanced in our local communities, showing a renewed, inclusive, and dialoguing church.
Por eso se la damos a conocer. Con ella se sienten fortalecidas e identificadas con sus luchas y preocupaciones. Queriendo unir fe y vida, nos comprometemos con nuestros
We
roles.
feel Mary reminds us that it is time to do what Jesus tells us. In our Vedruna mission, the person of Saint Joaquina is made known in a closer way in the different stages of her life. This helps the woman to feel strengthened and identified with her struggles and concerns. We feel empowered by our role as women and consecrated women in the church. We try to be a prophetic voice, denouncing situations of oppression. The Vedrunas are significant in the places where we are. This is how people let us know with the presence, the dialogue, the conversations. We are a sign of women of faith, of hope. We are references of search.
A la mujer en la iglesia. El Papa Francisco ha hecho una llamada clara y fuerte por el cuidado de la casa común. El cuidado y respeto de la tierra pasa por el cuidado y respeto
Pope Francis, and in tune with the previous Episcopal Conference of America and Caribbean, gives signs of where the church in this continent should advance. In the middle of last year, the Ecclesial Conference of Amazon was formed as a clear sign of the Church of the people of God who wants to promote calls and the first ecclesial assembly as a sign of church without exclusion, all seeing God's will. a gathering of the people of God. The Vedrunas are an active part of the religious life of the continent and the Caribbean, working with the different conferences of religious men and women of the countries, promoting interreligious works following the lines of the CRI.
Francisco reconoce que hay comunidades que se han sostenido y han transmitido la fe durante mucho tiempo sin que algún sacerdote pasara por allí, aún durante décadas. Esto gracias a la presencia de mujeres fuertes y generosas. La convocatoria a la
The convocation of the assembly, ecclesial assembly, opens horizons of hope. It unites all the people of God to move ahead. Laity, consecrated women, priests, bishops, cardinals, all together dreaming of the church. Francis now reminds us that the church is for all without any exclusion. Some challenges. We need to keep showing the feminine God in the midst of our society and church. We need to keep impulsing an in-church, communitarian church of brothers and sisters. We continue to fight together for the women and for other institutions so that they recognize the dignity in society and church. We need to take care of our theological formation in line with opening alternative patronism. We want to listen. We want to feel listened to and feel accepted in the church as the richness of our feminism. Oh, she didn't change. Vedruna family. What are the challenges that we face as Vedrunas?
Mujer Vedruna, qué desafío. Tu vida muestra el rostro de Dios.
Women, Vedruna women, it is your face that shows your face to the church for a church of communion. Vedruna women, you are prophetic. With the women, raise up your voice. Open up spaces to the institution. Vedruna woman, you are always in movement. At the end, at the peripheries, we will find God. Evangelizing is your commitment. Vedruna woman, you are in fight for the justice of women in the church as well as in society. Vedruna woman, go ahead, move ahead. Be a sign of faith and love. Sow the seed of hope in a church that needs a heart. Thank you. Thank you very much, Marisol, and the sisters who were besides you, who have helped you to think in this reflection. Thank you very much also for the question. This is, I think, what will help us to listen to these challenges which we feel within ourselves as women. How many common elements in a reality? What a lot of resemblance between the realities that Marguerite has spoken to us and America. There are some very good challenging questions that have come from both these sharings. Brotherhood, solidarity. We can really think of the depth of these words. Leadership, the feminine face, nature and women. And this is the Vedruna support. Communities that are working for the dignity of people, gender. Now is the time to take up our space with discretion with care, but we need to take our stand. Thank you very much, hermana, sisters of America. And now let us go to Asia. And now we will listen to Rekha. Rekha is going to talk about, or to see if she's going to speak directly or she's going to. So once again, I remind you that I will be reminding you 2 minutes in advance. Everyone has kept to the timing, so thank you very much. I have to change to Spanish now. So I leave you all because Rekha will be speaking in English, and let me try my Spanish. It may not be as fast as the English. If they don't get anything, they don't get.
Rani, I have, Dolly, I have already put my screen, but I can't see the group. Hello, Dolly.
You will not see the group if the screen is there, Rekha. You will see only the screen.
Okay, so I have to share the screen. So shall I start?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Good evening and good afternoon to all of you, dear sisters and all friends. Today, I'm going to share with you what it means to be a Vedruna in the church from ecclesial, cultural, and social reality of our continent of Asia. Vedruna presence in Asia. I have already shared about reality and problems of Asia in my paper. Also, I have mentioned the role of women in the family, society, and in the church. Here, I'm only going to focus on the reality of Asia where we Vedruna work. Japan is very traditional society, and therefore social hierarchy and gender discrimination are strong. Women are far from having equal footing with men. Women are prevented from promoting to senior management or positions even while performing the same jobs. Even after the law has come into force, the position of women remains weak. Sexual abuse is considered as a stigma on women, even in the church. In the Philippines, women in the past enjoyed favorable position. Women had prominent roles in indigenous ritual. Their labor was essential in agriculture. They dominated local markets. As time passed, privileges of men increased and women were marginalized. Women's status and conditions are undermined by poverty, gender-based violence, often exploiting overseas migration for domestic service, and lack of reproductive rights. 1 of every 5 children has experienced sexual violence. Officially, a Catholic country, the Philippines bans divorce and abortion, resulting in the highest rate of unplanned and teen pregnancy. Taiwan. Employed women in Taiwan constitute 40% of the labor force, many of which are managerial positions. Young women have formed the backbone of the workforce in the textile, electronics, and plastic plants. Women work long hours, often under unsafe and unhealthy conditions. Their earnings are a major portion of household income. There are many opportunities available to the Taiwanese women, like higher education, more freedom, and financial independence. This leads women to reconsider marriage. If they are married, they want more equality in a married life. If this equality is not found, they prefer to remain single or live unhappy marriages. In the case of interstate marriages, there exists gender discrimination. Since last year, the law allows the marital couple to have extramarital partner, which leads to abuse and divorce, and the children are the ones who suffer. Male child is preferred in this society. Hierarchy exists in the church. Priests are more respected, though the women keep the church vibrant with their attendance and contribution. The churches mainly depend on the women power. In ancient India, women enjoyed respectful place in the society. After the advancements in science and technology, it led to the misuse by practicing female feticide. This has led to a drop in the female ratio. Many women silently go on bearing the mental and physical torture because of poverty, inhuman social customs, lack of education, and lack of legal awareness. Empowerment approaches for women is not only providing services, but also about recognizing their lived realities of multiple layers of discrimination. Policies on women's empowerment exist at the national, state, and local levels in many sectors, including health, education, economic opportunities, political participation, and against gender-based violence. However, there is a big gap. One key factor for this gap is largely the patriarchal structure that governs the community and the household. In India, the crime graph against women is increasing. The condition of an Indian widow is quite deplorable. At work, the disparity is visible. Though a different working environment for women, unequal wages, undignified treatment, engagement in harmful industries, occupational hazards, working roughly twice more than men, and a nearly 27% of women are accounted by unpaid activities. Casteism is another grave issue where women from lower strata are exploited. As Vedruna Women in the Church, our response to the ecclesial, cultural, and social reality of our context, strength, and challenges. Mother Jokina is our driving force to cross all the barriers to respond to the needs of the people. In Japan, the sisters are engaged in formal education, especially for girls, preparing them not only academically, but also empowering them through different activities to stand on their own feet and to face the challenges of life. Through socio-pastoral activities, we reach out to the poor and the excluded of the society. We also help the immigrants to acquire legal documents for their security and sustenance. Through the visit to the old and aged, we extend our love and compassion following our Mother Jokina. Some more socio-pastoral service photos. In the Philippines, our Filipino sisters are working with 10 groups of mothers and youth children from rural and urban areas by networking the Talita Kum program and government, as also with other NGOs, creating awareness among them about trafficking, online sexual abuse, and teen pregnancy, thus giving priority to Pope Francis's desire to end human trafficking in the country. Vedruna in the Philippines are also engaged in educational and pastoral care activities in different parishes. Some more pastoral care photos. In Taiwan, through our involvement in formal education, our sisters impart Christian values to the youth and prepare them for life. Through pastoral activities and the Center for the Differently Challenged, we share our care and compassion with them. In India, we have covered several aspects of promotion and empowerment of women. Education, we have co-education, but we give special attention to the girls and we form them for life and be a responsible citizens. Boarding and hostels to provide better facilities to the girls from weaker section of the society to bring them to the mainstream. Through Bal Panchayat, children from early age are trained to understand and participate in the political structure of the country. We support and provide security to the young girls who are rescued from abuse and prostitution and accompany them to overcome their emotional and psychological hazards. In collaboration with the Jesuit, we provide shelter to the street children and take care of their emotional, psychological, physical, and educational needs, keeping in mind Jokina's pedagogy of love. System of temple prostitution. We work with the women who are temple prostitutes to help them to come out of the vicious circle of sexual abuse, taking care of their health issues, motivating them to live a meaningful life in society. Women empowerment through self-help groups, women's associations, and credit cooperatives. More than 5,000 women are organized through our credit cooperatives. Awareness of their strengths, skills, talents, and human rights through various capacity building programs, seminars, and activities which create self-confidence and give courage to face government officials and ask for their rights. Take leadership roles not only in their groups, but also in the family, society, and political spheres. Some more photos of self-help group trainings. Women promotion. Vedrunas in India were like frontiers warriors during pandemic period in reaching out the poor and needy. We have also organized farmers groups and we network them with the other movements in the country. Through our healthcare ministry, with our training, we create grassroots leaders, village health workers, auxiliary nurses who not only deal with their own health issues, but also enhance the health of their community. Through our dispensaries, mini hospital, we provide professional health facilities to marginalized and poor, especially the women and the girls. We also encourage the herbal medicines and treatments such as acupressure, yoga practice, and naturopathy. Transgenders, inspired by our document Vedruna Family House with Open Doors, we have opened an avenue to the transgenders who are excluded from the society. An awareness program on transgenders was organized in all the 5 regions of our province, which helped us change our outlook and our attitudes towards them. The challenges before the Vedrunas in Asia. Defense of life in all forms, ending all discrimination against women and girls. Every human being has the right with dignity and develop integrally. We must challenge ourselves, church and society at large, to act creatively when our human life and projects do not protect but harm environment and our common home. Migration, which causes misery to many, like the seasonal migrants, internally displaced, transgender communities, the aged and physically challenged from socially and economically marginalized communities. We are called to recover the loss of sense of responsibility for our brothers and sisters. Dialogue with our institution, church bodies, and society at large to uplift the roles of laypersons and the women. Clericalism in the church is a challenge before us. We need to foster a dialogue with the mind, heart, and hands. Commitment to the poor with the Pope. We want the church that is poor and for the poor. Who are the poor in our context beside those economically poor? They are women, especially Dalits, Adivasis, and women from unorganized labor class, fisher folk, and solvent workers, women who endure situations of exclusion, mistreatment, and violence, sexual abuse, online sexual exploitation of children, and teen pregnancy. Safeguarding the human rights of people and women to ensure that they are not compromised in the interest of economic exploitation. Boycott all projects that harm the livelihood of the people, especially women, and violate their economic, social, and cultural rights, to find new and creative ways and means of mobilizing them so that they are able to live their lives with dignity and justice. Courage to collaborate and network to support and stand by rightful democratic protests and movements of the poor, marginalized, and civil society groups in favor of human dignity, human rights, advocacy, and social justice in spirit of nonviolence. Pope Francis tells us we are brothers and sisters, and as such, we are called to become neighbors and friends. Competence in social apostolic relevant fields through our higher studies and expertise so that our contribution is effective. Educating girls and motivating them in critical thinking through Christian education, both formal and non-formal, helping the differently challenged, making women and children aware and preparing them to take leadership roles to create a new lifestyle and generate social change. We strongly believe that the challenge is in being small lights that announce a future of hope and life, knowing that every night is followed by the dawn, and every night seen from Him is the time of salvation. Small lights which united to many other lights accompany and light up the journey. The question for reflection: in keeping with the Asian reality, what aspect do we need to foster and what changes do we need to bring about? I take this opportunity of thanking our General, Sister Maria Ines and team for giving me this platform to share, and to each one of you, and also to to Patricia for listening me patiently. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sister Reka, for your rich reflection. You help us to see another perspective of risk and dangerous for women in different Asian countries, where women are not protected neither from laws. Actually, there are laws which go against women. But it's unbelievable your work as women, Vedruna, to empower other women through education. This is a huge investment for the future. It's also important to cross barriers and to break chains of lack of freedom. So thank you very much, Sister Reka. I move into Spanish now. Tenemos una cuarta reflexión ahora desde
We have now the fourth reflection from Europa. Please do not write in the chat during the talk because it disturbs everyone. So afterwards, at the end, when there is time for reflection and dialogue, then you can put in whatever you want in the chat. You can ask your questions or put in your reflection. Please do not do it while the panelist is talking. So now let us listen first patiently to the speaker. Now I invite Luica from Europe to begin her panel talk. And she is now on the screen and we will listen to her. She will also now help us to focus on this theme of women in the church. Thank you, Patricia. Greeting to each one of you who are participating. And thank you very much for the invitation to be able to share with you my reflection on my experience from all that I have read and my work with women. I am going to try to respond to the question that was sent to us. What does it signify to be Vedruna women in the church from our reality, the challenges, some very important role in the social context, the woman, especially in Europe, because I talk about the place that I live, that the women have, I share my reflection from a social context where women have slowly been given spaces in the public spheres and have the opportunity of taking up modes of leadership, teamwork, and care for life, both in raising children and in caring for the rest of the life. The woman has been connecting her work with the family as well as with the society. In this journey, there is still a long way to go in order to avoid the ongoing suffering of inequality in decision-making spaces, the lack of inclusion because of being a woman, the lack of appreciation, and sometimes we well know even the harassment and suffering that comes with the living in constant fear. It's a situation that many women are living in all the different continents. In some of them, they live in fear all the time. Sometimes they even commit suicide. In the ecclesial context, the most frequent situation in general are that I have reflected and read that men, especially priests, hold the places of power, decision making, and government, and they organize and guide Christian communities according to their criteria, without taking into consideration that the church has a history of women. While the women occupy the benches in silence, they are the ones who keep the churches clean, pass the basket of offering during Mass. They attend to the situations of exclusion and poverty. They are the ones who give catechism. They take part in the Caritas teams according to what is established by the men. This situation is perpetuated over time, provoking different attitudes. I will speak about now. A group of women who sit and observe. We live missionary women. This space is for us. Another group of women in an attitude of tiredness, they reach to the church. There is another group of women. They have an attitude looking for alternative ways, as we have seen in recent times. The revolt of women in the church until equality becomes customary. There are also some women who are critically contribute to the spaces of their thought, their theology, literature, in their formation, in accompaniment. But they are not yet able to live the church that Jesus wanted. As yesterday Philo told us, a church where there was no distinction, the Jews, the man and woman, all equal, because we were all the image of God. With this important synthesis, both the social and ecclesial context, we participate as Vedruna women because we are living a very historical moment. We are all we can situate ourselves in these four groups that I have spoken of. What does it mean to be a Vedruna woman in the church from the ecclesial, cultural, and social reality of my context? It means deepening into the awareness that we were supported by roots. We are rooted in the love of God who has called us into being, brings us together to become family, and shows us that nothing human is alien to him. Our roots are the experience of the Trinitarian God. It means that the roots of the first female disciple support us. All of them met with Jesus. They set out to announce the resurrection to the community and the people. They were the first ones to proclaim this to the men. It was women who announced to men. Those men who had abandoned Jesus. It means that our roots link us to the chain of disciples of Jesus who were part of the dynamism of the early church. We can also remember Prisca and Lydia, Tekla and Phoebe, and hundreds of women opened churches in their own homes, walked as disciples. They instructed the people in their faith. They exercised ministries in the Christian communities. We also call them women who brought up the church. It means that the Spirit makes us participate in a charism rooted in the love of the Father and the Son. Vedruna charism that today brings families together. It helps us to expand our spaces. A charism that cultivates dynamisms that were encouraged by Jokina. Prayer, poverty, fraternity are roots that encourage us to be women, strong, humble, and diligent. These dynamics make us rooted and give us wings to recreate them in our world today. What are, and like the first disciples of Jesus, and with them, we also feel many difficulties for us to reach, to live in this time. These roots are very significant for us. They are, it is what strengthens us. So what are our strengths and challenges? When I was reading in the dictionary, what does it mean, challenges and other meanings? Challenge means to confront, to fight against, to stand up for. The meaning from which we express our life in faith and dynamisms. I have a Japanese poem I read. I look for the same thing that they looked for. And then I began to think, what are we looking for? What are we looking for? We are looking for the same that our disciples were searching for, the disciples who ignored what Mary Magdalene was looking for, what Teresa of Jesus was looking for. Jokina de Vedruna calls her our master. Looking for something as what they were looking for. What is our challenges? The first challenge is the church itself. We have to live with creativity in the church. Francis invites us in the joy of the gospel, offer the opportunity to know what was the program of the. I want to address the Christian faithful to invite them to a new evangelizing stage marked by the joy of Jesus and indicate paths for the church to progress in the coming years. And he continues to say a little in the next number, he says, sometimes fear paralyzes us too much. If we let doubts and fears stifle all audacity, it is possible that instead of being creative, we simply stay comfortable and do not cause any progress. And in that case, we will not be participants in historical processes with our cooperation, but simply spectators of a fruitless stagnation of the church. So women in the church today, we do not want to be spectators, but rather authors of a church. We Vedrunas want to be authors of a church with creativity. We want to live by making possible a wide space where we all take an active part. But we need to ask ourselves, when we ask ourselves, and I ask anyone in this question, in this meeting, you woman of Vedruna in the church, do you want to be an author of the church or no? So this is my first challenge, a new space where we can be authors, not spectators. The next challenge is dialogue. A church that does not maintain dialogue with society today will not be able to influence it, will never be able to be included. In 1985, Paul VI invited us to do so in his encyclic. He said, the church must enter into dialogue with the world in which it lives. The church becomes a word. The church becomes a message. The church becomes a dialogue. How does the church dialogue today with women and with the situation that the women live today in society? And in this question of dialogue, we can ask ourselves, and you, Vedruna women, a believer of Jesus, part of the church, are you ready to enter into a dialogue as women with other women who form part of the church, or women who are in your own reality and in your world? Well, so this is the second challenge. The third one is discipleship. To become a way that we are inspired. Following Jesus implies a personal relationship that begins with listening to his word and move with the changes in the way of being in the world. The women disciples of Jesus followed him in public. They made decisions and were part of the community, participating in its leadership. A discipleship where they said, come, follow me, becomes for them a hymn for the proclamation that no one at all is excluded. Come, follow me as a hymn for the proclamation that no one at all is excluded and no risk is too great when it comes to following Jesus. Our leadership, participation, and decision making in the church are not possible for women. So thinking about this, our leadership, our participation, our decision making in the church, we know that by being a women, sometimes it is not possible for us to do this. And so we ask once again ourselves, you, woman, Vedruna woman, believer of Jesus, what leadership are you ready to carry out in the church? And now we move on to so the fourth one is our world, our community. Our world today needs living communities. Discipleship is lived in community and places each new Christian community in tension with the times in which that community grows and lives its way of insertion in the social and historical context. Being a Christian community today means providing a space for those who are left excluded. You will always have the poor with you. Are you ready to live from there, a community that is alive? Another challenge is proclamation. The church has taken proclamation as its mission from the very onset of its beginning. Pope Francis says, an urgent ecclesial renewal, a dream of a missionary option capable of transforming everything so that customs, styles, schedules, language, and every ecclesial structure becomes an adequate channel for the evangelization of today's world. One more. Now, the next challenge is the young people. The church today has a great challenge of the youth. How to approach and accompany the youth today? The feeling of loneliness is doubled among young people during this pandemia and the pandemic. We are asking ourselves how to accompany them. The community has an important role in the accompaniment of young women. You, a believing woman, Vedruna woman, are you ready to accompany the young ones today? An important challenge is to accompany the young people. You remember Jokina wanted to first accept young women in her family. The next one, seventh one, is discarded, excluded. And the Pope insists, I prefer a church that has been damaged, wounded, and stained from going out into the street, rather than a church that is sick from being confined and from clinging to its own security. And once again, there is in our eyes, we know that recently there was a picture of a child who was on the frontiers of South America crying, and there was no one with them. We still can listen to women who have been crying out, who were excluded.
Todo eso está ahí y necesita mujeres
We
comprometidas.
need women who are committed, women who are believers of the church and committed. And the last one, so to end, we need, Pope Francis invites us, always invites us to live creativity. And
para todos y para todas, para que haya espacios en nuestro mundo para todos. En ellos se jugó
for all of us have a space in this world. And with this decision, I remember that we are all women liberators of Jesus. We celebrate the fraternity, universal fraternity. Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias, de verdad, Luica, para ayudarnos a ver con esta riqueza la mujer en el
Thank you very much, Luica, for helping us to see the richness of the women of Europe. In the church, masculine church, and in the society, women, it's difficult for women to insert herself. It is true that in Europe, the women live in society with a lot of fear.
Y me parece importante también el hecho de subrayar que
it is very important that in Europe, very rarely the women they follow dynamics. I believe that there has been some change in Europe. That's just what you said towards the end when you spoke about become conscious of this posture of us as authors of our story. I want to thank all the 4 panelists who have helped us to journey in the different continents, talking about the women, and in very particular, women Vedruna, is to say, how is our own charism today change the life in the church? I invite if you want to write something in the chat, and I will just give 2 seconds of pause so that the translators can take a little breath, and you can think of, you can chat and put your reflection or your question or your thought. Do we want to be authors in this church, in this society? And how? What do we need to do? And then after that, we will leave some time for our panelists to comment on what we have shared.
Tengo el micrófono encendido.
Bueno, yo no sé, no encuentro la hermana Marguerite, entonces pido a Josefina si, porque sabemos que tiene problemas de conexión. Entonces me gustaba que estén aquí las cuatro, pero bueno, aprovechamos para, si luego llega, tú me dices, Josefina, y la puedes poner en spotlight, así la vemos. Bueno, vamos a ver un poco lo que nos dice dentro de la chat. Del chat, si hay algo.
So in the chat, there are a lot of commentaries that are coming. I invite the sisters to read it.
No sé si hay alguien que quiere, tenemos unos minutitos.
We have one or two persons who want to talk directly. Just open your microphone and say just one or two words if you want to say. Maybe we have a few seconds, so maybe one or two people can be given this chance if they want to say something. Very short.
Nadie se atreva.
Nobody dares to speak. Okay, I dare to speak. Carmen Molest is saying was very, very impressed by what they have said. Talking about the women in Europe. No se oye.
No había dicho nada con micro.
Sí. Decía lo de Europa.
Pues tenemos realmente muchísimo trabajo que hacer a todos los
We
niveles.
have a lot of work to do here in Europe. Very especially, we need at the level of the church, we have a great work to do. I also realize that it's much easier for participation in from the society around us and the small places around us, but but with the difficult in the church, because there are still some parish priests who are very masculine, and they really do not want us to participate and do not give us much equality in the church. It's true that there is a lot of work being done. So there are a lot of groups and women in the church who are working. There are new movements that are also coming up, and then they're all talking. We need to move ahead, open spaces. We should not just keep saying no, but we need to be brave and move ahead and say very clearly that that's enough now. That few people in the church, especially in Barcelona, when the churches are almost empty, and if at all there are, then there are a few ladies only. So it is really true, and with a lot of force, we need to raise up our voices, and slowly, we need to take channels towards making a change. One more person can talk very briefly. One more person. Just someone from America or Africa or Asia. One more. Okay, so one is talking. Okay. Carmen. This topic, it's really very, very interesting, this topic, and thank you to the 4 panelists. The problem, the men are very macho type. The women are not to be seen anywhere at this moment. The theme is, with so many religious we want to participate in the church, make it a church that is alive and creative.
El camino de Francisco y de Jesús, el primero. Por tanto, estamos a veces sufriendo el machismo.
We are sometimes suffering because of the machism, the masculinism in the church. Here I unite with all of you who even at the national level for this fight towards our right in the church.
ayudantes del obispo nos ha dejado participar algunas veces en alguna
Once in a while, the bishop house or the father in the bishop house has allowed us to participate or talk to the people over there.
Y aquí,
Rosa, perdona.
de nada.
Perdona.
Besitos, besos. Gracias.
Muchas gracias, porque me gustaría dejar un espacio, porque
I want to leave a few moments. That there are two things that are standing out in all the chats that are coming that we need to, with this structure of the church, we are subjects, but at the same time, what are those feminine leadership qualities that we need to take ahead in the church? So I would like to leave a few moments to our panelists if they want to say something, just 1 minute, 1 or 2 minutes for them if they would like to say something. Marisol,
Bien. Esta realidad de la mujer,
this reality of women in the church, as we have said, affects all of us. It puts before us a very great challenge. We as Vedrunas in America, Caribe, we are trying to move ahead with the communities. We are walking with the people, but it's not always easy. It is very difficult to present ourselves positively. It's difficult to open up spaces, though that there is a call of hope. Jesus gives us and invites us to wake up. We also want to help other women to discover and become aware of our own role in the church.
Muchas gracias, Marisol. Me impacta de que cuando abres el micrófono escuchamos toda la vida que llega de la calle, de tu comunidad.
I see when you speak and open the thing that when you speak, there is so much of, we can see everything around you. Thank you, Marisol. I ask Rekha if she would want to say something.
Yes, thank you. I have shared, yes, about the hierarchy, about patriarchy in my sharing. And also because of this, sometimes our voice is not heard, or our feminine face of God is not reflected. So what I mean to say is not that we have to change the roles. No. What I mean is the complementarity. No, that we can share more and more our feminine face in our churches, local churches, in our all the communities. Also, there are majority contribution from the women. So empowering them, we empowering the church. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rekha. I leave dejo la palabra a Luika.
So I ask Luika for 1 second. Thank you very much. In relation to leadership, I see it very important that women should also be aware of a shared leadership. Not that I am the leader and I am the boss, but it has to be shared leadership. And then we can also support others. Sometimes we support others and sometimes others will support us. A leadership that is shared with men also, where they and we and to all of humanity, we will be able to show who we are. We are all children of God. And from there is where I want to say that leadership, shared leadership should be in the church. Yes, Luika, I think this is the style of the men. They don't like to share the leadership.
La
Margaret is not with us. And by the time Maria Ines prepares for the final words by Ines, we women are always prepared. We have, the time is now. We need to prepare our space and begin our work. It is our time now. And before we close this part, I think that into this, I would like, I don't know if you know, there is a sister from another congregation, Daughters of the Jesus, who participated with me in the assembly. From the few women who she was present in this meeting, let us see if we can bring her onto the front of the screen, or maybe she must have gone already.
Ha logrado poner un hola en el chat porque tiene muy mala conexión y parece que María Núria de Kinshasa, de nuestra otra comunidad, ha pedido la palabra. Tal vez tiene alguna palabrita desde allí para nosotros ahora. Núria, puedes hablar.
So Nuria is going to say something from Africa because Marguerite is not there at this moment. If they are having some connection problem, so let us see if they are able to say something. She will talk in French, and I may not be able to translate that.
Reality.
Can't hear anything of what she's saying.
In a different service, the decisions are little limited. When it comes to the women, the decisions are limited. What we should we can continue like women Vedruna, the service which we are giving in our mission. It is not for the men to see what we are doing, but as a Vedruna women, we should continue doing what we are doing. Thank you.
So, thank you very much for the sisters who have prepared this. It has been very interesting to listen to all of them. From different places, we have heard their experiences, their challenges, and all the suffering that we are all facing in this journey. So now we have 15 minutes of recess, and those who are the participants, when you come back after the break, you have to enter in with the other link, which is of the participants. And so thank you very much for all those who have taken part or accompanied us in this first. We will also see you all once again on the 25th, which is the closing of the EGC. You are all invited to participate on 25th. We were very happy to see you today, and we will also see you on the 25th because you are part of the Vedruna family.
Muchas gracias a todos.
Gracias. Thank you very much, and we can go for a break.